You picked up a tin of tuna because it was supposed to be the simplest thing in the shop. Fish, water, maybe a pinch of salt. Lean protein, omega-3, 40 pence a portion, nothing to think about. On a tin sitting in Asda right now, under a label that says tuna, you will find sugar. You will find gum, a thickener. You will find 2 different grades of olive oil listed separately, only one of which the front of the tin mentions, and it goes wider than one tin. Olive oil and extra virgin olive oil are 2 legally separate products, defined in UK law. One of Britain's biggest premium tuna brands uses the cheaper one, while charging you for the idea of the expensive one. Counting down from 7 to 1, and number 1 is a tin most people would swear is the healthy option. Next up, at number 7, Rio Mare tuna in olive oil. Rio Mare looks like the answer to everything wrong with cheap tuna. Gold tin, Italian name, nearly triple the price of the own brand beside it. Forget the branding for a second and read the 4 words on the front. Tuna in olive oil. Not extra virgin olive oil, olive oil. Olive oil grades are defined in law, and that wording is not decorative. Extra virgin means mechanically extracted. No heat, no solvents, no defects. The grade called simply olive oil is refined oil with a little virgin blended back in for colour and smell. Refining means neutralized, bleached and deodorized at high temperature, which strips out the defects and the polyphenols with them. Polyphenols are the entire reason anyone talks about olive oil being good for you. Here is the part that matters. Under labeling law, they cannot write extra virgin unless it is extra virgin. So the absence of those 2 words is not sloppy wording. It is the most precise statement on the tin. And Rio Mare is not a family operation on the Ligurian coast. It is owned by Bolton Food, part of an international consumer goods group whose other brands have nothing to do with fish. Here is a simple test. Drain a tin into a glass and hold it to the light. Refined oil is pale and almost odorless. Real extra virgin is deep green gold and it catches at the back of your throat. That catches a compound called oleocanthal, and refining removes it. You paid a premium for the word Italian. The oil in the tin is the grade they chose not to name. That was a brand overcharging you for a word. What comes next is worse because it is not about what you paid. It is about what you pour down the sink. At number 6, Tesco tuna chunks in sunflower oil. This is the default tin. Blue and yellow stacked in every Tesco in Britain. Price so low you never stop to think about it. And most people choose oil over water for one honest reason. It tastes better. Here is what nobody explains at the shelf. The omega-3 you are buying tuna for, EPA and DHA, is fat soluble. It lives in the oil inside the fish, and a tin is not gently warmed. It is retort sterilized, held at roughly 120 degrees Celsius until the contents are commercially sterile. At that temperature, the fish's own oils migrate out of the flesh and into whatever liquid surrounds them. That sounds like a small technical detail. It is not. If that liquid is sunflower oil, the fish oil dissolves straight into it, and you drain it into the sink. If the liquid is water, the transfer barely happens. Oil and water do not mix, so the omega-3 has nowhere to go. It stays in the fish. Buy both and drain each into a glass. The water tin gives cloudy liquid. The oil tin gives a rich yellow oil that smells strongly of fish, and that smell is the omega-3 you just binned. The tin is not dishonest. It says sunflower oil right on the front. It just never mentions where your omega-3 ends up. We have looked at what the liquid does to the fish. Now look further back at what happened before the fish ever reached a tin. At number 5, John West tuna chunks in sunflower oil. John West is the heritage name on British shelves since the 1800s. And unlike most of this category, they built a tin tracker. Type the lid code into their website and it names the ocean and the vessel. Credit where it is due, that tool works. So the problem is not traceability. The problem is what the tracker traces back to. John West is owned by Thai Union, one of the largest seafood corporations on Earth. And the dominant method for catching skipjack is purse seining around fish aggregating devices, FADs. A FAD is a floating raft with netting beneath it. Marine life gathers under floating objects instinctively, so you set one adrift, let it collect a community over weeks, then encircle the lot with a net. Enormously efficient, completely indiscriminate. Fad sets carry far higher bycatch than pole and line fishing, juvenile big eye and yellowfin that never got the chance to breed, plus sharks, rays and turtles. And here is the strange part. This is not something John West has never acknowledged. The brand publicly committed to sourcing 100% of its tuna from pole and line or FID-free methods by 2016. Greenpeace UK's Tuna League tables track that pledge year after year. John West did not meet it, and the failure generated significant press coverage at the time. Turn the tin around and look at it, rather than the advert. Blue MSC tick yes or no, then find the catch method. Purse seine with no FAD-free qualifier and you have your answer. A pledge is a sentence. A catch method is a fact. Only one of them ends up in the net. That was a problem out at sea. At number 4, it begins somewhere much less romantic. An oil refinery. At number 4, Asda tuna chunks in sunflower oil. Asda's own label tin exists to be the cheapest chunk tuna in the aisle, and it succeeds, but almost nobody asks the obvious question about it. Of all the oils in the world, why is it always sunflower? Not for flavour and not for the fish. It is there because it is one of the cheapest bulk commodity oils on the global market, bought by the ton on price alone. In a tin sold on price, the packing liquid is a cost line, not a recipe decision. Whichever oil is cheapest that quarter is the oil that goes in. Standard sunflower oil is roughly 60 to 70% linoleic acid, an omega-6 fatty acid. Omega-6 is not poison, and you need some. But the modern British diet is already flooded with it. It is the base of nearly every vegetable oil, every fried food, every packaged snack, every ready meal on the shelf. Omega-6 is the one fatty acid almost nobody in this country is short of. Here is what happens when you put them side by side. Pick up the sunflower oil tin and the spring water tin from the same brand and compare fat per 100 grams. Same fish, same size tin, near identical price. One column will be several times the other, and that gap is the packing oil. You are not buying tuna in oil. You are buying tuna plus a cheap commodity fat you did not ask for, priced as though it were part of the fish. If this helped you make better decisions, subscribe and stay tuned. Because next up, at number 3, there is a problem that already happened inside the tin before you ever picked it up. At number 3, Prince's tuna chunks in sunflower oil. Prince's has been in British cupboards forever. It sits at the back of a shelf for 2 years and nobody worries about it. That is the whole appeal of tinned food. It does not go off. But shelf-stable and unchanged are two different things. And with a polyunsaturated packing oil, that difference matters. Linoleic acid has 2 carbon-to-carbon double bonds. Every double bond is a site where oxygen can attack. That is precisely why polyunsaturated oils are the least stable in any kitchen and the first to go rancid. So why does that matter inside a sealed tin? Because oxidation does not need air rushing in. It needs heat and time, and this oil has had plenty of both. Refining comes first. Commodity oil is degummed, neutralized, bleached and deodorization happens at high temperature under vacuum. Heat 1, before the oil has seen a fish. Retorting is heat 2, the sealed tin held at around 120 degrees Celsius. Then warehouse, shelf, cupboard, at room temperature for as long as the date allows. On tinned tuna, frequently 3 to 4 years. There is a quick way to check this. Open a tin that has been in the cupboard a while and smell the drained oil directly. Fresh oil is close to odorless. Oxidized oil has a specific note people describe as crayon, putty, or old walnuts, and glance at the best before while you are holding it, because a tin with 3 years left has 3 more years of sitting still to do. Water cannot oxidize. That is not a marketing claim. It is chemistry, and it costs nothing. Everything so far has been an argument about the liquid. From here on, the liquid is not the problem. The fish is, or rather, how little of it there is. Before we continue, I've spent years standing in supermarket aisles so you don't have to. The supermarket method is everything I've learned from hundreds of supermarket products, distilled into one simple guide you can use on every shopping trip. Scan the QR code on your screen, grab your copy, and let's get back to the rankings. At number 2, Sainsbury's 80-gram tuna with sriracha. This is the new category. Small flat tin, bold graphics, aimed at the lunch desk crowd who want protein without a bowl or a fork's worth of effort. Here is the ingredient list, in order. Skipjack tuna, 60%. Extra virgin olive oil, water, spirit vinegar, garlic, red chili, sugar, salt, garlic powder. Freeze the frame on that first number, 60%. The The tin is 80 grams in total. 60% of 80 is 48 grams of fish. The other 32 grams is oil, water, vinegar, and seasoning. A standard 145-gram tin typically gives you well over 100 grams of drained fish for less money. The question is what you are paying per gram of the thing you actually came for. On a per gram of protein basis, this is one of the most expensive ways to buy tuna in a British supermarket, and sitting in that list is an ingredient with no business in a savoury fish product at all. Sugar. Not a trace carried in by a tomato or a herb. Sugar added deliberately ranked above the salt. That is a flavour engineering decision inside a product sold as a clean, high-protein lunch. Do the maths in the aisle. Divide the price of the flavoured tin by 48 grams of fish. Then divide the standard tin by its drained weight. Two numbers nowhere near each other. And that gap is what convenience and a bold label just cost you. You did not buy a tin of tuna with a sauce on it. You bought a sauce with some tuna in it, at tuna plus prices. At least that tin was honest about being a flavoured product. And finally, the one we teased at the very start. Number 1, Asda sun-dried tomato tuna with extra virgin olive oil. On paper, this should have been a safe pick. 77% tuna, the highest fish content of anything in this section. Sun-dried tomatoes, extra virgin olive oil named on the front. It reads like a deli counter. Now read the whole list in order. Tuna, 77%. Water, sun-dried tomatoes, 5%. Extra virgin olive oil, 3%. White wine vinegar, sugar, olive oil, coconut vinegar, mixed herbs, thickener, gar gum, salt. Two things in there change the entire picture. First, there are two different olive oils in this tin. Extra virgin at 3%, named on the front with its own percentage. And then, much further down, after the sugar, a separate entry that just says olive oil. As we established at number 7, that is a legally distinct, refined product. So you get a measured dose of the expensive grade with a headline and a number, plus an unquantified amount of the cheap grade in the small print. You are meant to read the first and assume it covers both. 3%, incidentally, is about a teaspoon. Second, guar gum, a thickener extracted from the guar bean used across the food industry to stop mixtures separating. But why would a tin of fish need a thickener? Because this is not fish in oil. This is fish in a mixture of water, 2 grades of olive oil, 2 vinegars, sugar and dried herbs. Left alone, that separates. Water sinks, oils rise, and you peel back the lid to find a split, watery mess. The guar gum holds it all in suspension so the contents look glossy and coated and homemade at the moment you open it. The thickener is not there to feed you. It is there to manage your first impression. And in the middle of it, sugar again. In a tin of fish, ranked above the second olive oil, above the herbs, above the salt. Watch what happens when you open one. Tilt the tin to 45 degrees, properly packed tuna runs freely and pools at the low edge. This moves as one slow, clinging body and drags against the side. That drag is the guar gum doing exactly the job it was added to do. The tin with the highest fish percentage on this list is the most heavily engineered product in the aisle. Sugar for taste, a thickener for looks, and a premium oil at 3% doing all the work of a headline. Enough of that. Here is the good news. The fix costs less than the problem. Every tin in this next section is cheaper than or about the same price as the ones we just went through. You do not have to spend more to eat better. You have to read one line differently. Safe pick number 3, Tesco tuna chunks in spring water. Same brand as number 6, same shelf, same fish, near enough the same price and a completely different product. 2 words are doing all the work. Spring water. The first reason we covered at number 6, water cannot dissolve the fish's oil, so the omega-3 stays where you want it. The second reason almost nobody knows. Spring water is not brine. Brine is salted water, and salt in the packing liquid migrates into the fish across the entire shelf life of the tin. That is how curing works, and it works just as well over 3 years in a cupboard as over 3 days in a kitchen. 2 tins can start with identical fish and end up with meaningfully different sodium in the flesh itself, purely because of what they were packed in. To be fair, this is not the most exciting tuna you will ever eat. Water-packed skipjack is leaner and drier and it wants something added, a spoon of proper extra virgin, lemon, mayonnaise. And that is a feature. You control the fat going in and you know what grade it is. On the tin, look for spring water rather than brine, the blue MSC tick, and skipjack named as the species. The next one adds a layer of verification most brands never bother with. Safe pick number 2, Sainsbury's tuna chunks in spring water, no added salt. Everything true of the Tesco tin is true here, plus 2 things it does not have. No added salt, not reduced, not lower, none added. Standard tinned fish carries a real sodium load, and tuna is a food people eat 2 or 3 times a week precisely because it is convenient. If you have been told to bring sodium down, this is one of the easiest swaps available, and it happens entirely at the shelf. And it carries MSC certification, which is worth understanding properly, because most people treat that blue tick as a vague eco badge. It is 2 separate standards: a fishery standard, assessed against stock health and ecosystem impact, and a chain of custody standard, which is the part that matters to you as a shopper. Chain of custody means every business that handles that fish, the vessel, the processor, the packer, the retailer, holds its own audited certificate, and certified fish must be physically segregated and documented at every transfer point. So the blue tick is not a claim about the ocean. It is a claim that this tin can be traced backwards through a chain where every link was checked. There is one catch. MSC certifies sustainability and traceability. It is not a mercury test, and it is not a nutrition score. That is a great deal. It is not everything. 2 words removed and 1 certificate added at own brand prices, which leaves 1 tin standing above all of them. Safe pick number 1, Wild Planet skipjack wild tuna in water. Read the ingredients: skipjack tuna, sea salt. That is the list. Set that against the 11-line panel at number 1. 3 things put this at the top. It is pole and line caught. 1 line, 1 hook, 1 fish at a time. The most selective method that exists, and the exact opposite of netting a floating raft. The juvenile big eye and yellowfin problem disappears because you see what is on the line before it comes aboard. The fish is cooked once inside the tin. This is the detail that separates Wild Planet from nearly everything else on the shelf. The industrial process pre-cooks the tuna, drains off the liquid, then packs the flesh with added water or oil. That drained liquid is the fish's natural juices, which is why so many tins list water as an ingredient. Wild Planet packs the fish raw and cooks it once in the sealed tin, so those juices stay put. That is why the drained weight is close to the fill weight instead of a third lighter. And it is skipjack. Species matters more than any other single factor for mercury, because mercury bioaccumulates up the food chain and across a fish's lifespan. Skipjack is small, short-lived and low on that chain. Albacore and big eye are larger, older predators and carry considerably more. Every dietary advisory that flags tuna is flagging the big species. That does not make it perfect. It costs more, and in the UK it is an online and health retailer buy rather than a supermarket one. What that money buys is a 2-ingredient panel, a selective catch method, and a drained weight that is actually fish rather than water you are paying for by the gram. 7 tins hiding behind a picture of a fish. 3 that simply tell you what is in them. You went for tinned tuna because it was supposed to be the honest option in the shop. Lean, cheap, no ingredients list worth reading. And for 3 of these tins, that is still completely true. So here is what to do next time you are in the aisle, and it takes about 8 seconds. 1. Find the packing medium. Spring water beats brine and both beat oil. 2. Find the fish percentage and the species. Skipjack, and the higher that number, the better. 3. Read to the end of the ingredients. If there is a sugar, a thickener, or an oil listed twice at 2 different grades, put it back on the shelf. 3 checks, and you will never buy a bad tin again. And if this changed how you look at your own shelves, subscribe. We are doing the tinned salmon and sardine aisle next, and at least one so-called healthy brand on that shelf is worse than everything on this list.